if AB equals 0, what can be said about A or B? So when we look at this expression AB, we know that that's going to be A times B, right? We know that when we use the juxtaposition like that, that means that we're talking about multiplication. So what we want to think about is when I multiply two things together, and remember A and B are variables, so their values could vary. They could kind of represent any number. If I'm going to multiply two things together and come up with 0, what could we say about those two things? Well, think about what you know about multiplying things to equal 0. The only way to multiply things together and end up with 0 for an answer is if one of those things equals 0. So for example, if I have 0 times 3, that equals 0. If I have negative 57 times 0, that's going to equal 0. Notice that anything times 0 is going to give me 0. And if you start thinking about, well, what about, are there other possibilities? You'll find that there is no other way to multiply two things together to end up with 0. And so what this tells us is that if I have two things, and here we're calling them A and B, and they multiply together to give me 0, that's telling me that either A equals 0 or B equals 0, but there's one more thing we need to consider. Here we looked at A being 0. Here in this example, we put an A in for the first number. Here we put an A in for the or a 0 in for the second number, so we put that one in for B. Are there any other ways that if I have 0 times just some number, I can end up with 0, or some number times 0 equaling 0? There's one last possibility, right? It could be that they're both equal to 0, because certainly 0 times 0 also equals 0. So either A equals 0, or B equals 0, or both A and B equals 0. And that's the only way that we can have two things multiplying together to equal 0.